Yesterday we were on day 6 and we discussed the journey beginning from Makkah to Medina, and we discussed that in quite some detail, which leads on to today, which will be invitation from the people of Kufa. So we've got quite a lot to cram in today.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أما بعد. Dear respectful brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I assumed that we would have enough time to do a lot, but even though we are spending 10 days going over the journey of Imam Hussain regarding the Karbala or the journey of Karbala, time is very limited, and it's only when you do research you realize how much information is available. Yesterday we spoke about the journey begins from Medina al-Munawwara, sorry, from Mecca to Medina. It should be the other way around. It should be from Medina to Mecca. We wrote here Mecca to Medina. That's an error, because the Imam left from Medina, he went towards Mecca. Now Imam Hussain is still in Mecca, and today we're going to discuss the letters or invitations from the people of Kufa, the people who invited him, and in regards to that. Now what happens is, when the news of the death of Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala arrives in the Muslim world is quite taken back. A vacuum is created, unfortunately, if you want to call it. A power vacuum, as you call it. There's a lot of people speaking and speculating. Now the Kufan people, when they learn about the death of Muawiyah, the narrations are very happy, and some of them are quite upset in regards to what's happened. However, they're still overwhelmed in the sense that they want change. And when they hear that the situation in Mecca is that both Imam Hussain and Abdullah ibn Zubair radiallahu anhuma, these two personalities have gone to Mecca and are refusing to give the oath of allegiance to Yazid, this then begins an episode where people then begin to spread rumors, and rumors and allegations are moving around the Muslim world. You know, like Chinese whispers. They say one thing and it's not that, but it's something else. So the Kufan then basically start saying that Yazid has been rejected. Hussein is calling people to give allegiance to him, and he's not doing that. Imam Hussain isn't calling people to give allegiance. Imam Hussain is looking at the political situation. He's analyzing what's happening in the scenario. So when rumors get around, people then in Kufa, they began to gather in the house of Sulaiman bin Surad al-Khuza'i. Sulaiman bin Surad was one of the head of the Kufan rebels, if you want to call it, as they call him in the books. And he was, one narration says, he was an opportunist. He was a very opportunist individual. Wherever the money was, that is where he went. And he was a very slick person. And that's one narration. The other narration says that he was a Sahabi, but that's very weak, because I couldn't find his name with the Asma Rijal books. I checked with the Asma Rijal, and I couldn't come across his name, but he's Sahabi. Tabari says he is, Wallahu Alam. So we'll hold our judgment regarding such a person, because we don't know whether he's a Sahabi or isn't. But what we do know is that he supported Imam Ali, and he supported Imam Hassan in their leadership, and he fought in the Battle of Siffin. So people gathered in his house, and they then began to discuss these rumors, and they then began to say that there's a chance that we should bring Imam Hussain to give our allegiance to him, and we should support him, and we should be with him. Now the people, why is it that the Kufan people are fed up? Why is it that the Kufan people want change? The reason for that is corruption and fasad in the Muslim world. You have to understand that the last time that the Muslim world felt some type of peace was during the leadership of Umar bin al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. Sayyidina Umar had an iron fist with his governors. He had an iron fist the way he did things. And there was a lot of blessings in there. There's an incident where, let me quote you a saying. A man came to Sayyidina Ali and said, why isn't Amir al-Mu'mineen during the time of the Shaykhain? When I say Shaykhain, this refers to Abu Bakr and Umar. This is a term that ulama use. Why is it during their leadership we had peace and tranquility, but why is it during your time we have fitna? We are fighting the corruption. Sayyidina Ali says, because at the time of Abu Bakr and Umar, they had me to advise them. And in my time I have people like you to advise me. You get the point? So that summarizes the situation. One of the other things was, during the time of Abu Bakr and Umar, there was unity within the Muslims. There wasn't disunity. Everyone was united. When Sayyidina Uthman became a leader, unity was there. But due to the policies implemented by Marwan bin Hakim, the de facto leader, he then alienated a lot of people. And we know, and we spoke about the Martydom of Uthman on the third day, and we went through the fitna that happened. Because of that reason, the Muslim world was corrupt. There was torture, there was bribery, there was corruption. People were not safe now. Now what happened in the Muslim world, people were being killed for no reason by the government. At the time of Umar, a Jewish man got his right against the governor Amr bin As of Egypt. And you remember the story I mentioned to you. One man got justice and he wasn't a Muslim. At the time of Umar, you could travel anywhere in the Muslim world and you would be safe from persecution. But now the reality is what? Now the situation happens that in the Muslim world it's chaos. There's turmoil. There's fighting, there's killing, there's looting. People do not go out publicly. The government was oppressing the people. The rich were becoming richer. Governors were becoming arrogant. Governors had then turned their palaces from a palace which had no door to a cloth that Umar had, to a palace which had a fortress. And it was so high that they say in the narration that the people could just look down at the subjects. And the governors were arrogant. The governors were people who used to sit on the minbar and curse people. And then, if they never liked you, they said, just kill him. That was the barbarity, the barbarism of what was happening at that time. That was the type of dhulm, oppression was happening. When this oppression happened, the people got fed up. That was at the time of Uthman. When Ali came in power, people thought it would finish and it would change. But the reason why it didn't change was why? Ali had two battles. On one side he was fighting Muawiyah to give the allegiance. And then the second fitna he had was the Haruri Khawarij in Haruriya. Haruri is a place in Iraq. And that is where the Khawarij met and they dispelled themselves from the gathering of Sayyidina Ali. So Sayyidina Ali had two major fitnas to deal with it, and he wasn't able to deal with it because of the people he never trusted. And then Imam Hussain came into the position. And again the same thing happened to Imam Hussain. So, and then Muawiyah was the leader for a lengthy period. What are we looking at? 41 after Hijri? 40 after Hijri, Imam Sayyidina Ali passes away. 41, Imam Hussain abdicates. 10 years, that's 10 years. I mean, 20 years we're looking at. Up to 60 after Hijri. We're looking at Ibn al-Rajab. Muawiyah had over 18, 19 years of leadership. During that time, policies were not implemented. The governors of the Muslim world were oppressive. You cannot deny history, it's a fact. For example, you had Ubaydullah bin Ziyad, who was the governor of what? He came to become the governor eventually. He was a Basra, but he comes to Kufa. His father was called Ziyad, Ibn Ziyad. And Ziyad, they used to call him Ziyad ibn Abiha. Ziyad, the son of his father, because no one knew who his father was. Okay, there's another narration regarding that. So what you found within the Muslim world is that the governors were oppressive. When you had this dhulm, this oppression, people wanted change. People wanted the golden days to come back of Umar. People wanted sakina and tranquility. So when they saw Imam Hussain, and they realized that Imam Hussain had rose up, and the Chinese whisper went around, and then the legend went around of Hussain, bravery of Imam Hussain. He's the son of Ali. He has power, he has strength. He's risen against whom? The tyrant. There was an image trying to be played by the people. It was like a people's fight, a people's battle. So morally and mentally the people were for Imam Hussain. Mentally they were ready. But in their heart, they were not with Imam Hussain. Because they were scared of their property. They were scared of their family. Because what happened? If the government found that you were disobedient to them, what did they do? They punished all of your family. they used to crucify you in front of your house. And this is a fact. And this is something that the Prophet prohibited. This never happened at the time of Abu Bakr. It never happened at the time of Umar. Why? The Prophet said, do not mutilate the death. Show respect to even the death, the dead bodies. This had begun to become so apparent that if someone went against the government, what did they do? They just crucified him. So this was the zulm. I'm trying to give you a picture. I'm trying to make you realize what the geopolitical situation was like at that time. It was a very bad situation. The Muslims were fed up. These were not the golden days of Islam. And from that time, the only time that Islam really came back, where the Muslims experienced tranquility, was the time of Umar bin Abdul Aziz for 2.5 years. People then realized, and that is why some people say that Umar bin Abdul Aziz is from the Khulafa al-Rashida, even though he isn't, because he came well after. But his minhaj, his government was like that. And there's a narration which says that during his Khalifa, during his Wallahu Alam, Allah knows best whether this is true or not. They said the fox and the sheep will not kill each other. It's a saying in Arabic, they say, Ibn Khaldun mentions it, that the fox and the sheep would not kill each other. That is how much tranquility, whether that's an exaggeration, a mubalagha or not, Allah knows best. And the narration then says that when the fox did kill the sheep, they then realized it was the death of Umar bin Abdul Aziz. Whether that's a legend, a story that was made up or not, wallahu a'lam, there's nothing to... No, it was Umar bin Abdul Aziz. It was clear cut Umar bin Abdul Aziz. Yes, it's clear cut. So whether that's true or not, some of the Ibn Kathir said it's a legend, it's a lie, but wallahu a'lam. So when all of this fitna happens, the Kufan people then gather in the house of Sulaiman bin Surad al-Khuzai. He's one of the influential people. And he talks to the people and they all agree and say, what we should do now is take advantage of this. There's a vacuum in the Muslim world, a political vacuum. Let's write a letter to Imam Hussain and invite him to come to Kufa. Let's give our allegiance to him and support him. Now Sulaiman bin Surad al-Khuzai turns to his people, to the Kufan people, and says to them, he says, don't call Hussein if you're not going to support him. He warns them in advance. He says, only call Imam al-Hussain if you are going to physically support him and you are willing to die. That is what he says. He says the path that we are taking is a very dangerous path. We will make enemies with brothers and we will make enemies with uncles. He says we will be fighting the Syrian people. He says Syria will come to fight us. Are you willing to fight? And he said, if you are not willing to fight, then don't write a letter to Imam Hussain. They all agree and said, what? We will write a letter. And in the letter they write what? One of the things they write in the letter to Imam Hussain, they said that the governor, does anyone remember who the governor of Kufa was at that time? It's not a test. Nu'man bin Bashir. Nu'man bin Bashir was the governor of Kufa. So they then write to Imam Hussain and said to Imam Hussain that we do not read a prayer behind that man. We stop praying behind him. Nor do we pray the Eid behind him. Nor do we come out for Eid for him. We've rejected him as our leader. And they write a letter. They send the first letter under 3-4 signatories. 2 days later they send another letter with 50 signatories. 3 days later they send another letter. And as this process goes, they send 4 to 6 different letters within 4 to 6 different periods. Some narration says, which is far-fetched, that 12,000 letters came to Imam Hussain. Wallahu a'lam, whether that's true or not. But it's mentioned in the narration. However, these letters then began to build the momentum that the people are fed up, the people want change, the people want Imam to come to Kufa. So one of the letters they write, and they write to Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, to Hussein, may Allah be pleased with you, peace be upon you. They say from Sulaiman bin Surad, and they give a name of about 6 to 7 different people that wrote the letters. One of the things that you also realize, if you read the books of history, the word Shia is used. The Shia of Kufa. That doesn't mean the Shia sect. It's not referring to them. For example, if you read, let's say, At-Tabari, Muhammad bin Jarir Tabari's version regarding the Battle of Siffin, he says the Shia of Muawiyah and the Shia of Ali. Because the term Shia in Arabic, it comes from the Quran, it means supporter. That's the name of, that's what the word Shia in its lexicology meaning in the Arabic language means. So the word Shia was used as supporters. So Shi'ani Ali means the supporters of Ali, Shi'ani Muawiyah means the supporters of Muawiyah. It doesn't mean the sect or the group that we have to get off, the Shias who believe in it, who believe in the Rawafid and so forth. Some people say, oh, the Shia that believe in the 12 Imams. We believe in the 12 Imams. The 12 Imams are Imams of Ahle Sunnah Wal Jammah. The 12 Imams starting from whom? Sayyidina Ali to Hassan al-Askari. All these 12 Imams are giant Imams of Ahle Sunnah Wal Jammah. So we also believe in that. So we shouldn't fall in that trap of saying the 12 Imams of the Shia. That's wrong. And nor should we give da'wah. Many ulama I've seen, unfortunately, Imams that when they act, when we have a academic rebuttal of the Shia because we do disagree with them, or a disagreement with the Shia should not be so extreme that we become anti-Ahlul Bayt. That's something extremely important. Many scholars made this mistake in the history of Islam, that when they wanted to rebuttal the Shia for the Aqidah, they went so far that they actually then wrote things which was anti-Ahlul Bayt. So we do disagree with them, but you shouldn't go to such an extreme of becoming such a person who's like that. So what do the Shia say? Or the supporters of in Kufa, the supporters of Imam Hussain that wanted to come, they say, praise be due to Allah. In the letter they write some things about praising the death of Muawiyah. That's what they've written. They're happy. So it shows an indication what the circumstances like in the government. It shows what the people believe and think, what was their feeling and what was their inclination. They then turn around and say that we don't pray behind Nu'man bin Bashir. We refuse to pray or praise underneath or with him. And they then say that we don't pray Friday prayers with him. They say we don't come out even on the Friday prayer. They say we will only support you. We give you our allegiance, we give you our life. Even if it means us going to Syria to fight them, we will fight them with you. We will not abandon you. Imam Hussain then reads the letters, and Imam Hussain then writes a letter in return to them, and he replies to them. Imam Hussain writes them and says, from Hussain ibn Ali to the believers of the Muslim world. And one narration says he writes to the leaders of the believers of the Muslim world. So Imam Hussain will say that Yazid was not the leader, but the normal people, they themselves were the leaders of themselves, because you are in charge of your own folk. He says, I received your letters from Hani and Sa'ad and the various people. And he says, I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless you. I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove from us disunity. For indeed, if there is no Imam, if there is no Khalifa, there is no point of living. That is how fundamental it was to have a leader of the Muslim world. It was life and death. Imam Hussain says, I read your suggestions, I read your views, I read your letters. May Allah be pleased with you. May Allah reward you. And may Allah bless you. And may Allah, he says this, may Allah unite us under the banner of Islam. May Allah put us, unite us. He says, however, what I'm going to do, I'm going to send you my representative and my cousin. He's a representative from my family, and he's extremely close to me, and I love and support him. His name is Muslim bin Aqil. Muslim bin Aqil, I'm going to send him to evaluate the situation. Who is Muslim bin Aqil? For those who are not aware, Muslim is the son of Aqil. Aqil is the elder brother of Sayyidina Ali. Sayyidina Ali had basically, some narrations say 4 brothers. One was Talib, hence the reason you get Abu Talib. His father was called Abu Talib. He had one son called Talib. One was called Ja'far. Ja'far is the Sahabi who was martyred in the Battle of Mu'tah, I think, in Syria. And both of his arms were cut off. And the Prophet said, Ja'far is now flying in Jannah with 2 wings. Allah replaced his 2. And when the Muslims came back with the news that they had won the battle, the Prophet said, I don't know whether I should be happy or upset. The Prophet loved them or not. I don't know whether I should be happy who were upset, happy because the Muslim won the battle, who were upset because Ja'far's passed away. He was the Prophet's cousin. He was the elder brother of Sayyidina Ali. And another brother of Sayyidina Ali was called Aqil. Aqil was 10 years older than Sayyidina Ali, Karamallahu ta'ala wajhul kareem. So his son is called Muslim. And he is the first cousin, paternal cousin, which we call Chacha Zadbai in our language, of Imam Hussain radiallahu anhu. Imam Hussain says, I'm sending you my brother, my cousin, and he will evaluate the situation, and depending upon what he says, we will take things further. May Allah forgive you, and may Allah unite us for it. And then he says, if there is no Imam to judge between us, between the book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet, he says there's no purpose to live. My life is only of purpose if we submit to Allah. Now these are the letters that Imam Hussain receives, and the momentum starts to build. At the same time in Basra, let me tell you again, you had Mecca, the leader of Mecca was Amr bin Sa'ad. The governor of Medina was Walid bin Utbah, you remember? Walid bin Utbah was then fired and he was replaced with Amr bin Sa'ad. So Amr bin Sa'ad was the governor of both Mecca and Medina. The governor of Basra was Ubaydullah bin Ziyad, this evil man. And the governor of Kufa was Nu'man bin Bashir. These were the governors. Back in Basra, which is another city in Iraq, and I don't know if whether whether you all remember the Iraq war, just the second Gulf War, that is where the British forces were in Basra. They call it Basra in English. That was the city, it's called Basra. Once called Busra in Arabic, don't get mistaken about that, that's in Syria. There's one Basra and one Busra. Busra is the city in Syria which the Prophet went to, Sallallahu when he was a child. And when he met Bahir the monk, radiallahu anhu. That's another city. This is Basra in Iraq. There were two cities in the Islamic knowledge which are extremely famous. There were literally 4 cities that were known for Islamic knowledge in the early days. One was Mecca, one was Medina Sharif, Mecca Sharif, one was Kufa, and one was Basra. These are very famous for Islamic knowledge. Al-Kufa is where Imam Abu Hanifa comes from. Imam Abu Hanifa was from Kufa, radiallahu anhu. So going back to Basra now. Again, the people in Basra are supporters of Imam Hussain too. They then galvanize themselves and they meet in the house of a woman called Maria bint Sa'ad. This lady Maria bint Sa'ad, Imam Tabari says that after this incident, you don't find any mention of who she is. There's no narration of who she was or where she was. All we know, she was a woman that lived in Basra and she was very sympathetic to Imam al-Hussain. She gathered the people in her house and the people would then begin to speak about the legends, would speak about the dhulm of the leaders, and would speak about the future of the Muslim Ummah and how good it would be that Imam Hussain comes and takes an army and fights Yazid and kills Yazid. There is a man called Yazeed bin Nubayt. Yazeed bin Nubayt radiallahu anhu, he's a legend from the people. He shows what it means to have loyalty. He demonstrates loyalty. When they are gathered there, he has 10 sons. He stands in front of everyone and he says, by Allah, I don't know what is in your heart. I don't know what's in your heart, nor can I speak on behalf of anyone, but I will speak on my behalf. He says, I swear by Allah, I will support Hussain, the son of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He says, even if it means me taking and fighting Yazid, he says, I'm willing to die for Hussain. He says clear. He says, from my sons, all 10 of them, he says, which ones of you are willing to join me to fight Hussain? Sorry, to fight Yazid, to support Imam al-Hussain. Only 2 of his sons supported him. He then put his armor on. When this incident happened, Ubaydullah bin Ziyad is the governor of Basra. Ubaydullah is a tyrant. And Nu'man bin Bashir, the governor of Kufa, his characteristic is that he's a soft man. He isn't a harsh man. He isn't a man, he's not a crude man. Ibn Ziyad is a crude man. If you get on his wrong side, he'll kill you. He doesn't care. And Nu'man bin Bashir was different. Ibn Ziyad realizes and reels and the whispers get around that the Basrians are meeting and supporting Hussein. And they are attempting to leave Basra to go to Kufa and someone to go to Medina. So he sends his guards and he says, do not allow anyone in and around Basra from every road. Yazeed bin Bayt somehow eventually got out and he met Imam Hussain. And when he got to Imam Hussain, that was Imam Hussain was actually going towards Kufa. He then submitted himself to Imam Hussain, and he was one of the 72 people that was shaheed in Karbala. Him and his two sons. Imam Hussain actually gave him an option and said, leave, you can go. You know, it has no, he says, I prefer. He says, going back is a form of cowardness. He says, how will I show my face in front of Rasulullah and say to Rasulullah that I had an opportunity to defend your grandson and I took dunya over your grandson? He says, I swear by Allah, I will never take that. I would prefer to sacrifice and die under the banner of Hussein and be with him, so that when I go to Rasulullah I will say, I am within the army of Hussein. You see, he had iman, he had taqwa, he had the piety of Allah. So he was one of the people that was martyred. What happens then was, Imam Hussain then sends Muslim bin Aqil, and he sits with Muslim bin Aqil in the Kaaba, near the, you know, the Hijr, you know where the semicircle area is? Near the Hatim, near that area. He sits with him there, and Imam Hussain turns to his cousin and says to his cousin, oh my cousin, fear Allah. Have fear of Allah, know who we are, know my rights over you. He's reminding him of iman and taqwa. He says, go, I have a duty for you to do. Muslim bin Aqil says, what is it? He says, we've got these letters from Kufa. Before I make any attention or intention to move, I want you to travel to Kufa, analyze and evaluate the reality on the ground. Tell me what the people think. Tell me about the situation. Afterwards, come back to me, write to me, and then I will make my decision. Muslim bin Aqil agrees. Muslim bin Aqil then travels by himself to Kufa. To get to Kufa, he has to go to Medina. He goes to Medina al-Munawwara and he enters into the city of the Prophet ﷺ. Muslim bin Aqil says in poetry, which many of the poets mention, he says, I feel a sense of sadness in me. He says, I felt like this would be the last day. I would never come back to Medina again. I would never come back to the city. He prays in the Prophet's masjid in RadiAllahu Anhu. After praying in RadiAllahu Anhu, he goes to the Prophet ﷺ. He goes to his uncle. The Prophet was his uncle. He was the cousin of his father. And he stands in front of the Rawdah and he begins to cry. He cries immensely. And this narration says he cries in such a way like a baby is crying. The one narration says his whole beard is wet. And then he finishes and he then greets his family in Medina, his relatives, and says to them, I have to go to Kufa. He then hires two guides who can show him the path from the tribe of Banu Qais. Banu Qais is a tribe. He hires two tribes from them, and now he goes towards Kufa. On the way to Kufa, his two guides take a wrong turning and they become lost. And they become lost in the desert. They lose their direction. The tribulation is they have limited water. The water finishes. They don't know where they are. They're lost in the desert. No one to help them. No one to guide them. And two of his guides are on the verge of dying now, of thirst. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then sent a blessing to them. Because Allah said, this is not the place for you to die, O Muslim. Why? The ulama said that, O Muslim bin Aqil, you are the sons of Abdul Muttalib. You are not the sons of anyone. You are the sons of those people who the world will appreciate and love. And your zikr will be mentioned until Yawm al-Qiyamah. Think about it, 2015, 1,400 years after Imam Hussain passed away, in this masjid we are remembering Muslim bin Aqil. Tell me, does anyone remember Yazeed? The only people I remember Yazeed is with anger, with vengeance, with la'na, with curse. And that will happen until Yawm al-Qiyamah because of the love we have. They're on the verge of dying, and Allah gives them a blessing that the two guides turn to Muslim bin Aqil and say, follow this path. This path will take you to water. Muslim bin Aqil eventually gets to a place where he finds a well. He drinks from the well and then he writes a letter to Imam Hussain explaining the delay. He writes the letter and says to Imam Hussain, this is what's happened. I went to Medina, I did this, I did this, I did that. And now I'm lost. And I have a bad feeling about this. This isn't a good, this is a sign, maybe from Allah, that we shouldn't go to Kufa. And the letter comes to Imam Hussain. Imam Hussain writes back to him, because he knows his cousin. Imam Hussain says, oh my cousin, fear Allah, do not be a coward. I never sent you. Because cowardness is not a trait of the children of Abdul Muttalib. They're not cowards. They are decent people, but they are people who fight. He says, go and do what I told you and march to Kufa. Go to Kufa. Don't make silly excuses. Don't be a coward. Go to Kufa. Analyze the situation in Kufa. Then come back to me and then we will see what will happen. So what does Muslim bin Aqil do? When he reads the letter, Muslim bin Aqil cries. He says, Wallahi, I'm not afraid of myself, I'm afraid for Hussain. So that's what you call a cousin. You know, that's what you call a cousin. He says, I don't worry about my life is of no value. He says, but I don't want any harm to come to Hussain. I don't want no harm to come to Hussein's family, to the Ahlul Bayt. This is the love he had for him. And Muslim bin Aqil, he arrives in Kufa on the 1st of Dhul Hijjah, 60 after Hijri. He arrived. When he arrives, Nu'man bin Bashir, who is the governor of Kufa, he calls the people together in the masjid. Because now he's realized people are meeting and planning and plotting to dispose Yazeed. He gets up on the mimbar, Nu'man bin Bashir, and he says, oh people, you know how good I am as a governor to you. He says, may Allah's blessings be with you, may Allah praise you, may Allah love you. He says, I am a person who, after this day, any one of you who has been disobedient to the Khalifa, to Yazeed, but after this day shows remorse, I will forgive them, I give them immunity. Anyone that planned or plotted to call Hussain, I forgive you now. He then starts to speak to them in nice soft words. And he says, but anyone that fights against the leader, he says, I swear by Allah, until Allah gives me strength, I will have a sword in my hand and I will kill each one of you. He says, I will not deter in killing you. I will not deter in punishing those who rise up against the government. Some of the people who were with him, within his community, his supporters. One is, for example, Umar bin Sa'ad bin Abi Waqas. Umar, the son of the famous Sahabi, Sa'ad bin Abi Waqas, RadiAllahu Anhu. Umar is the one who led the army to Karbala. And he's one of the cursed people who, even in his life, his father threw him out of the house. And he became a person who was a rebellious person, even in the early days of Islam. One of the people turned, like Umar bin Sa'ad, they turned to Nu'man bin Bashir and they said to Nu'man bin Bashir, they say, oh Nu'man, be a man. They say, oh Nu'man, be harsh on these people. You speak so soft when they are willing to destroy the government of the Muslims. And Nu'man bin Bashir then says to them, he says, Wallahi, I swear by Allah, I would prefer to be a weak man but be obedient to Allah rather than being a strong man and disobedient to Allah. So even Nu'man bin Bashir realizes that even I can be harsh, but that harshness, the consequences of that is the punishment and the wrath upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When this incident happens, what the people then do, Umar bin Sa'ad and many other people, they then write a letter to Yazeed. And they tell Yazeed what happened in Kufa. That your governor, Nu'man bin Bashir, who represents you, got up on the mimbar and he sounded like a weak man. And this isn't the sign of a leader. We want a leader that's strong. We want a leader that has an iron fist, that tells the people that if you break away from the government, we will chop your heads off, we will crucify you, we will do this, we will do this, we will kill you, we will torture your family, we will do this to your kids. You know, this is to punish them, to teach them a lesson. When Yazeed reads this letter, Yazeed then called his advisor called Sarjun. Who is Sarjun al-Rumi is called? Sarjun is a Christian. He used to be the secretary to Muawiyah in the early days of his leadership. He was one of Muawiyah's chief advisors and chief secretary, but he was a Christian. And remember what Umar bin al-Khattab RadiAllahu Anhu said. Umar made a policy. What was the policy? Umar said any high office position no non-Muslim can have. It's in the books of Tariq. Umar made a point that said, from high office, no high position in office can a non-Muslim be the leader. That's why Umar had a servant that was a non-Muslim. Umar said to him, you become a Muslim in order for me to give you more responsibility. I cannot give that to you if you do not become a Muslim. He says, I don't want to become Muslim. Umar said, La ikraha fi din. There's no compulsion in deen. So this Sarjun is a leader. He is an advisor, chief advisor of Yazeed. It shows you the type of people around Yazeed. It shows you the type of advisors that he has, contradicting the Sharia. Sarjun says to him, Yazeed, he says, if your father was alive today, would you follow his advice? Yazeed said, yes. He says, let me give you advice. Appoint Ubaydullah bin Ziyad as the governor. Send Ubaydullah bin Ziyad, for he is a tough man. And Yazeed then says, I don't want to appoint him, because at that point, Yazeed had a falling out with Ibn Ziyad. And Yazeed was about to write a letter to sack him as the governor of Basra. Eventually Yazeed agreed. Yazeed sent a letter, and when he sent the letter, he said to what? He said, oh Ibn Ziyad, I have promoted you. You are now the governor of Kufa too, and Basra. When you receive this letter, immediately you must travel to Kufa and you must resolve the fitna, and you must solve the fitna and the killing and the problems that we have. Yazeed then says, I have learned that Hussain sent Muslim bin Aqil to Kufa. He says, when you find him, kill him and make his killing an example for the people. Or you can free him or let him go. It is your choice. That is one narration. That's the weak narration. The authentic narration is he says kill him. Okay? So Ibn Ziyad, when he receives this letter, the next day he marches to Kufa. At this time, the people are waiting for Imam Hussain to enter. They are waiting and anticipating the arrival of Imam Hussain to Kufa. Ibn Ziyad, when he's outside Kufa a few miles, Ibn Ziyad stops and he puts some Yemeni clothes on to present himself. And he put a black turban on and he put a cloth over his head. In a protocol. When he enters into Kufa, the guards who are in Kufa mistake him for Imam Hussain. And the guards then say, oh, welcome, O son of the Prophet. Welcome, O son of Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet. Ibn Ziyad is so angry with this. He's extremely angry what they are saying and the way they are welcoming various different people. Eventually what happens, Ibn Ziyad continues walking into Kufa. When everyone then starts to say, welcome, O son of the Prophet, the whole of Kufa then realizes that Hussain has arrived. They all come out to Kufa and they all began to do istiqbal. They try to welcome him, but they don't realize this is Ibn Ziyad. It's not Hussain RadiAllahu Anhu. And Nu'man bin Bashir is in his palace. When he hears the uprising of the people, and the people are happy and are shouting, immediately he closes his doors. And he runs to the top part of his palace. Ibn Ziyad comes to his door. And everyone is then saying, oh welcome, O son of the Prophet, oh welcome, O son of the daughter of the Prophet, oh welcome, marhaban, and they're giving such a welcome. Ibn Ziyad inside is boiling with anger and anger and anger. He wants to say something, but the reason why he doesn't, Ibn Kathir says, he fears for his life. He fears that if he says to the people, I am who I am, they will attack him. So what does he do? He goes to the door of the governor and he knocks on the door. The governor refuses to open. When the governor looks down, he says, one of the guards, one of the people with Ibn Ziyad said, it is Ibn Ziyad from Basra. One of the Kufan people hear this and they say, well, this isn't Hussein, it's Ibn Ziyad, may Allah's curse be on him. It isn't Hussein, it's Ibn Ziyad. And all the people know him. Nu'man bin Bashir opens the door and the narration says what? The narration says Ibn Ziyad arrived in Kufa a day after Muslim bin Aqil arrived. A day after. He closes the door and Ibn Ziyad tells the former governor, Nu'man bin Bashir, he says, make the adhan. One adhan was for what? The salah. One adhan was when the governor wanted to make an announcement. So all the Muslims came to the masjid. Ibn Ziyad gets on the minbar. He says, my name is Ubaydullah bin Ziyad. You know who I am. You know my father. My father dealt with you rebellious. My father dealt with the rebellious people during his time. And you know what my father did to you people. When you disobeyed the leader Muawiyah, we killed you. He's playing a psychological game with the people. He says, I swear by Allah that I am not the son of my mother if I don't kill you people if you rebel against Yazid. The Imam, the Khalifa. He says, if you rise against him, I will kill you, and not only that, I will make an example of you and your tribes and your people. He says, I will punish you in such a way that you wish that you weren't even born to your own mothers. He's playing a psychological game with them. He says, however, those amongst you who is obedient to the leader and abandons this fitna and abandons this rebelliousness and this so-called revolution, he says, I will be the most soft person to you. I will be the kindest person to you. I will be the fairest person to you. I will share with you my food and my drink. I will share with you my money and my wealth. He said, I will be an obedient servant and I will obey the laws as long as you obey them. But you know, if you rise up against them, he says, I swear by Allah, you will feel my sword on your neck. He says, you will feel my sword. And he says, if you obey, I will help you. This sent shockwaves in the people. This was a scary moment for the people. The women began to come out. And the women, what did they do? They began to get their sons and daughters and said, come back. You know, this is politics. You know, leave it. Like they say nowadays. What do the people say? Yeah, this siyasi baat hai. You know, leave it. Just live your normal life. Work 9 to 5. Come home and relax. Don't get involved in politics. So this is similarly what happened. The women ran to the market and began to grab their husbands and their brothers and their sons and said, come back home. Ibn Ziyad, then what he does, Ibn Ziyad then has a servant from the tribe, before that. So now is this, after the sermon of Ibn Ziyad, Ibn Ziyad now wants to find where Imam Hussain is. Sorry, Imam Muhammad, Muslim bin Aqil is. He wants to find where Muslim bin Aqil is. Because the first duty order that Yazid gave him was what? What was the first order? Was to find him, kill him, or free him, up to you. Secondly, deal with the fitna of Kufa. Thirdly, deal with Imam Hussain. These were the orders that were given. So what does he do? At this time, when the situation becomes volatile, and because where Imam Muslim bin Aqil was living was a known place, Muslim bin Aqil then goes underground. He then goes to the house of a man called Hani bin Urwa. Hani bin Urwa was one of the senior people of the Kufan people and the supporters of Imam Hussain. But he was a person who was afraid. He was influential. Initially he refused to accept Imam Muslim bin Aqil. Afterwards he accepted him in. When Muslim bin Aqil said, am I not your guest? Don't you have rights? Don't I have rights over you and you have rights to me? He agreed. Ibn Ziyad now begins the search for Muslim bin Aqil. He calls a servant from the tribe of Banu Tamim, one of the tribes, Banu Tamim, one of the servants. He gives him 3,000 dirham. Let me give you the analogy of what 3,000 dirham is like. When Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu warda, when he was going to marry Fatima to Zahra salamullah alayha, the mahar he gave, the dowry he was going to give was his shield, his armory. He sold that to, does anyone know, Uthman bin Affan. And he sold it to Uthman bin Affan for 400 dirham. How much? 400. Uthman bin Affan, and what did he do? When he gave the 400 dirham, Ali then gave that 400 dirham to Fatima to Zahra. Uthman radiallahu anhu came on his wedding day and said, this is a present to you now. So he gave him the 400 and gave him a present. The same armory back. Because Ali was a poor man radiallahu anhu. So 400 dirham just for an armor. And that's a lot of money. Now imagine 3,000 dirham. So you can see the comparison. How much it is, the value. He gives the 3,000 dirham and he gives it to the servant from Banu Tamim and says, you find Muslim bin Aqil, and when you find him, pretend to be one of his supporters and give the allegiance to him, and give this money as a gift, if you have to Muslim bin Aqil, to convince him that you are with him, and tell them that you are from Syria, from Homs. So this individual, what does he do? The first place that he goes is the masjid. When he enters into the masjid, he looks around in his spine. He sees a person praying at a distance who's called Muslim bin Awsaja al-Asdi. He was Imam Hussein's right hand, so he was Muslim bin Aqil's right hand man in Kufa. He goes to the people and says, who is that man praying? They said, that man is the servant and the right hand man to Muslim bin Aqil. He says, take me to him. He goes to Muslim bin Aqil and he goes to Muslim bin Awsaja al-Asdi, and he says to him that I am a Shia, I am a supporter of Hussein. I love Hussein. I hate Yazeed. I hate Ibn Ziyad. May Allah's la'na be upon them. I offer you my allegiance. I have this money, 3,000 dirham, which I collected, and I want to give this to you so that you can use it in the campaign against Yazeed. You see the psychological mind games. Why? Because bribery, behaving un-Islamically, and Hussein doesn't behave like this. That is one of the reasons why Imam Sayyidina Ali's leadership, why wasn't Sayyidina Ali's leadership as successful according to Western Orientalists? Ali never did these things. Bribery, buying people out. Whereas the other people from the other side did buy people. They did bribe and give money. So he agrees. He takes him to Muslim bin Aqil, and Muslim bin Aqil is now in the house of Hani bin Urwa. Hani bin Urwa is one of the influential people of the Kufans. When the servant enters into the house, he recognizes Hani, because Hani is that person, day and night, twice a day, he used to come for the majlis with the governor. The governor would hold a public meeting with influential people, Hani would visit him. So he now realizes this is the place. He goes to Muslim bin Aqil, he gives the bay'ah, the allegiance to Muslim bin Aqil, and he gives him the 3,000 dirham. And Imam Muslim bin Aqil accepts it. He sits there for a number of days, the narration says, to get more information, to report back, because the information isn't just about capturing this person. The information isn't about just capturing Muslim bin Aqil, is to get information, intelligence. He sits there and Muslim bin Aqil then begins to take the bay'ah from the people on behalf of Imam Hussain. The narration says 18,000 people gave allegiance at that time. 18,000 people. And he then begins to show the people the letter of Hussein. When Muslim bin Aqil reads the letter, everyone begins to cry. Everyone's emotional. So what happens then is Hani becomes Hani bin Urwa, who Imam Muslim bin Aqil is in his house. He becomes sick. Illness befalls him. When Ibn Ziyad hears this, Ibn Ziyad said, I want to visit him. When the news comes that the governor is going to visit Hani bin Urwa, his supporters said, this is the moment to kill him. We have now the opportunity to kill Ibn Ziyad. Kill him and replace him with Muslim bin Aqil. And we have a new governor. Hani says, Wallahi, I will not do this because I cannot do this when a guest is coming to my house. Because one of the qualities of the Arabs, which the Batan people till this day have, is that if you are their guest, they will never give you, even if that means they have to die for you, they will never give you. Some people have this quality in them, that if you are their guest, they will never give you. Anyway, he refuses. Ibn Ziyad comes that night, Hani sits with him, they socialize, and he leaves. Then there's a man called Shaykh bin Ahwab. Shaykh or Sharik they call him in one narration. Sharik is a person who is amongst the elderly and most respected people amongst the people of Kufa. Even though he was anti-Yazeed, but he had such an influence that Ibn Ziyad used to respect him a lot. He had a lot of respect amongst the leaders. He becomes ill and he moves into the house of Hani bin Urwa for treatment. He becomes extremely ill. When he's in the house of Hani bin Urwa, Muslim bin Aqil is there. He says to Muslim bin Aqil and says to him, he says, if you have the opportunity to kill Ibn Ziyad, will you kill him? Muslim bin Aqil said, yes, I will kill him. He says, he's coming to my house tonight. Hide behind this curtain, one narration. One narration says, hide behind this door. When I say, give me a cup of water, this is the sign, this is the logo, this is the code. Then you come out and kill him and finish him and get rid of his fitna. Then the people will make you the leader, and when you become the leader, the governor, if Allah gives me good health, I will support you. That night Ibn Ziyad now comes to the house of Hani bin Urwa. He meets Sharik and he speaks to him and he greets him. He then says to the people, he says, give me a glass, give me a cup of water. And his servant comes out, a female. When she sees Muslim bin Aqil, she runs away. He then realizes nothing's happened, no one's come out to attack Ibn Ziyad. He then says, I said, give me a cup of water. And nothing's happening. And then he said, don't you fear Allah, will you let a man die because of thirst? Give me a cup of, and this time Ibn Ziyad is sitting. Ibn Ziyad looks and turns to Hani, says, this old man has gone a bit funny. Maybe the illness has got to his head. Hani says, yes. And then Ibn Ziyad had his bodyguard called Mehran. Mehran gave him an eye. He gave him a wink with his eye. An indication, let's go. Because they had a code word. Whenever they went to any meeting, if his life, Ibn Ziyad's life, was in danger, all Mehran had to do was wink at him. Wink at him once, that was a code, get out of here now, move quickly. Ibn Ziyad immediately stands up and says, I have to go. Now Sharik wants to keep him because he wants the people to kill him. He said, no, you must stay. Won't you write my will? Won't you write my will? No, write my will. And then the narration said, he tries to pull Ibn Ziyad pulls him away and says, we will come tomorrow. And he leaves. And when he leaves, one narration says, what Mehran says, oh Ibn Ziyad, wallahi, he wanted to kill you. He said, A'udhu Billah. Ibn Ziyad says this. This is the first narration. Ibn Ziyad says, how can he try to kill me when I was so good to him and my father was so nice to Hani? How can Hani do this in his house? He said, doesn't Hani realize the gifts and the qualities and the prosperity that we've given him? That's the first narration. The second narration I'll discuss after this point. After this incident, Shaykh then turns to Muslim bin Aqil and says, why didn't you kill him? Why didn't you kill him? Look at the iman of Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu anhu. Subhanallah. Muslim bin Aqil said, I would have killed him, but Hani told me not to kill him in his house. I cannot violate the house of Hani. I am a guest in the house of Hani. Subhanallah. I cannot violate my rights here. Okay, and even at that time, look how great Muslim bin Aqil was. He says, maybe he is a Muslim, and violating a Muslim is haram. Killing him is haram, and I did not feel comfortable. Shaykh then says, this is a big mistake by you, and 3-4 days later, Shaykh passed away. His janazah was led by Ibn Ziyad. When this incident happens, after the janazah, the second narration says that Mihran goes to Ibn Ziyad and says, they were plotting to kill you, and their code was, give me a cup of water. And Muslim bin Aqil was in the house. How did I know that? The second narration, because of the servant from Banu Tamim. He came and he overheard what happened, and he went back and he reported to Mihran, who was one of the head of the police and the bodyguards. Ibn Ziyad then summons Hani bin Urwa. Why? Because Hani used to come during the day and the night, but he stopped coming. He then turned to the people and said, why is Hani not coming to my majlis? They said, he's sick. He says, he's not sick, go call him. They go to him and they said, the governor calls you, he's demanding you. Hani realized something's wrong now. Hani then goes and it's Jum'ah time. He prays the Jum'ah prayer. Ibn Ziyad says to him, come with me. And now they go to the governor's majlis. When they go to the governor's majlis, look at the reality now. Hani bin Urwa realizes something isn't right here. Ibn Ziyad says to him, oh Hani, am I that evil? Am I that bad to you? Wasn't it my father who was kind to you and Hadi and Hujr bin Adi? You all know Hujr bin Adi, the Sahabi. Who is Hujr bin Adi? He is from the great Sahaba, one of the great supporters of Sayyidina Ali. His father arrested him and sent him to Muawiyah in Damascus, and he was killed. He was from the Sahaba. Hujr bin Adi radiallahu anhu. He's one of the great Sahaba. He says, don't you remember it was my father that showed kindness to you and to Hujr? He says, is this what we get in return? Betrayal from you? That you wanted to kill me in your house when I visited you when you were sick? Hani says, I swear by Allah, this is not right. I never planned this, I never plotted. He says, I've heard that you've got Muslim bin Aqil in your house. You're hiding. You've got Muslim bin Aqil in your house. Have you got him? He says, I swear by Allah, I haven't. Eventually they have an argument, and Ibn Ziyad says, quiet. He says, bring the servant out, come here. And the servant comes out from Banu Tamim. When Hani sees him, he recognizes him. He's a spy, the one who gave 3,000 dirham. He says to Hani, do you recognize him? Hani's kept quiet. He says to the servant, do you know who he is? He said, yes. He said, Muslim bin Aqil is in his house. Ibn Ziyad turns to Hani. And look, even at this circumstance, Hani now realizes he's on there. Hani then says, I swear by Allah, I never invited him to my house. Nor have I plotted against the government, because he never plotted. Hani says, he came to my house and I had to accept him as a guest. Islam tells me that. I cannot abandon him, I cannot turn against him. Ibn Ziyad then turns around and says to him, I demand you to give me Muslim bin Aqil. I demand you to give over Muslim bin. Hani says, Wallahi, I cannot do that. Ibn Ziyad says, why? He says, he's my guest. Ibn Ziyad says, I'm not requesting you, I'm ordering you to give me Muslim bin Aqil. Hani says, Wallahi, even if you open the ground underneath my feet, I cannot give him to you. He's refusing, the governor. And they began to fight. One of the tribesmen who loved Hani, he said to Ibn Ziyad, let me speak to him. He takes Hani to the side and says, oh Hani, I know you, you know me. Wallahi, your life is precious, and I don't want to see you die. Listen to the governor, give him up to the government. You will have no blame on you. Hani says, if I give up Muslim bin Aqil, who is my guest in my house, he says, how will I show this face in public? How can I show my face in public and say, I am the same person that when Muslim bin Aqil came to me as a guest, I had the rules of protection for him, but because of my own life I gave him up. He said, I swear by Allah, I will not give him up. Ibn Ziyad says, come here. When he comes to Ibn Ziyad, he has a whip, a cane, and Ibn Ziyad hits him with the whip, and he cuts his mouth, his forehead, and breaks his nose. And some of the flesh falls onto his beard. When this happens, then Hani sees a sword. He attempts to get the sword to fight or kill Ibn Ziyad. The police push him away. He then turns to the people and says what? Hani turns around, Ibn Ziyad turns around and says, arrest him and put him in jail. There was a place in the palace for a jail. That Muhammad, there was a guy called Muhammad who was amongst the police, amongst the supporters of Ibn Ziyad. He turns around and he says what? He says, oh Ibn Ziyad, you know what type of person Hani is. He has tribes. If he announces, his people will come and they will fight. At that moment, Hani's supporters all come running to the doors of the governor, shouting and saying, we've heard that you've killed Hani. Ibn Ziyad now realizes the situation, and what does he do? He then sends a message to the people to tell the people, sends a messenger and says to the messenger, go to the people and tell them, I've only arrested him and there's no need to have concern. When they tell his people, the tribe's people, they're content and they leave. From this moment of leaving, now we enter towards the end part of Kufa, and also we have the time for Salah, which I think I'm going to have to continue after the Salah, because I don't want to rush it at all. I want to take as much time as possible to finish the end of Kufa towards the martyrdom of Muslim bin Aqil, and then we will look at it. I thought today that we could get to the ninth of, it's not going to be possible. Tomorrow we will discuss the night of Muharram and Imam Hussain entering or making the journey to Karbala, because there's a lot of detail we have to go over regarding what happens to Muslim bin Aqil. So I think we should leave it there. We should do the adhan. It gives more time for us, and then after Salah we will continue. For sallallahu ta'ala ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. I think we should continue in regards to what we're doing. Before the break, or before Salatul Isha, we basically discussed a few issues and a few points that needed to be. Well, it's very hot, isn't it? So let's get back to point. So the issue is now, the scenario is that Hani's been arrested, Hani bin Umar. So Hani is a person who was giving shelter, refuge to Imam Muslim bin Aqil. And the reality and the situation is that when he is confronted by Ibn Ziyad in the Majlis, do you have such a person, do you have refuge with such a person? He denied it. Anyway, he admits it, and what happens is Ibn Ziyad then says, or he demands and says, bring me back or give me Hani, sorry Muslim bin Aqil, give me Muslim bin Aqil. Hani refuses, and the reality is that he goes into jail and he's put into prison, into an area. Here I can go back there. It disturbs the whole. I cannot concentrate. It's better. Shukriya. So let's go back to regarding what happens. The news now gets back to Muslim bin Aqil, who's now in the house of Hani bin Umar. The news comes back, and what is the news? The news is that he's been arrested. So Imam Muslim bin Aqil announces and says, announce for battle, for war. Bring the people out, because he has 18,000 people that gave allegiance or bayat to him. 18,000 people then gather, respond to the call of Muslim bin Aqil, and all of them march. Muslim bin Aqil is within the central of the army. He's leading a cavalry in the central part of the army. His left and right wing is controlled by two of his main senior advisors or senior people of Kufa. When they get to the doors of the governor now, Ibn Ziyad at that time did not have a large army with him. You know, some narration says 300, some says 400, some says 500. There's different narrations, but Ibn Ziyad did not have an army to take on the people, especially 18,000 people. There was no way that he had that type of manpower. So Ibn Ziyad, what he does is he immediately closes the doors, and all of the elderly senior clansmen that the 18,000 people belong to are in his majlis, are sitting privately with Ibn Ziyad. Ibn Ziyad turns to them and says to them that if you value your life, and you value your property, and you value your position in society, you better make sure that the people that are outside that belong to your tribe go back home. If not, when Yazeed does send an army and he comes back, and he will come and he will bring an army, he says, I will make sure, even if I'm alive or dead, we will make sure revenge is taken and that you are tortured, and you know, and this is done and that is done. These are the elderly people. They're scared because why? Because they're scared because of their own position, power. If you go to any village in any part of the world, if you threaten the elders of the village, the ones who run, the ones who make the decision, they will do anything just to save their skin, to save their power. Because it's not about, for them, the elderly clansmen, it wasn't about supporting. They neither supported Imam Hussain, nor did they support Muslim. They were happy the way things were going, because why? Because the government was paying them money. And the money that they used to receive was for what reason? To keep your mouth quiet, to keep your mouth silent, to keep your people under control. So what happened was, when these 18,000 people are now gathered outside the governor's house, and they're going to attack the governor, they're going to remove him from power, this is Ibn Ziyad's final chance. Now what happens is, these elderly tribesmen come out and say to the people, they say, oh people, you know who we are. And they eventually convince their people to leave. And what you see, from 18,000 comes to 10,000. From 10,000 we end up with 5,000. 5,000 people out of 18,000 people. And they're vanishing, they're disappearing. Why? Because they've been reminded. What is the reminder? The reminder is, these people are so naive. The reminder is, Yazid's bringing a big army. Yazid's bringing over 100,000 soldiers to Kufa if you don't go back to your homes. And if he comes to Kufa and you have done what you've done, trust me, you will all be slaughtered, you will all be killed. It was to teach them a lesson. Eventually what happens, Muslim bin Aqil is in the masjid and he only has 500 people with him. When he finishes his salah, he turns around, there's only 100 people with him. You see the betrayal. Muslim bin Aqil remembers the incident of Ali RadiAllahu Anhu, his uncle, and he realizes that these people are treacherous people. They have no loyalty. All of those people that said, we will give our life, we will sacrifice everything, we are with you, we are with you. Muslim bin Aqil leaves the masjid, he looks behind, he's only got 50 people with him. They're vanishing one by one. From 18,000 by midday, the narration is by midday, the Zawal time, just before Dhuhr, it was 18,000 people with him. By the evening time of that night, he only has 50 people with him. He keeps walking, he looks behind, he comes to the gate called the Gate of Kinda, which is an area in Kufa. He turns around and he only has 10 people with him. 10 people. He turns and he keeps walking, he looks behind, 3 people. He's upset, he's devastated. He's not devastated because of himself. Why is he so upset? Because he's already written a letter to Imam Hussain to say, leave Makkah, come quickly to Kufa. He now realizes that this is the bribery, this is the loyalty of the Kufan people, that they've all left. He looks behind, there's no one's with him, he's by himself. He's in a strange land, there's no one, there's no family, there's no relationship, and he's wandering up and down the city. All the doors are shut. Why? Because in the Muslim world, not like nowadays, but in the old days, the cities like Baghdad, Kufa, after Salatul Isha, lights were off. Because the hadith says that you should not go out at night time because shaitan is out. But nowadays, whole night the lights are on and the Muslim world is thriving, and people stay out till about 2-3 o'clock in the morning. A'udhu billah. In them days it wasn't like, it was like a ghost town. He continues walking and walking until thirst overtakes him, and he sits at the doorstep of a woman. The woman comes out and says, "O fear Allah, O servant of Allah." She says, "Fear Allah, O servant of Allah." This was something that the people would say a lot, servant of Allah, to remind the people. She says, "You better move from here because there'll be suspicion of the people. What is a man doing in front of my door?" She said, and Muslim bin Aqil turns around and says, "O servant of Allah, will you not give me some water?" And she went inside and she got some water. She came out and she gave him the water, and he drank from the water, RadiAllahu Anhu. And he then puts his head down and he's in deep thought. He's upset. And the woman says to him, "Leave now, go, O servant of Allah." He doesn't answer. She says it the second time, "Leave, O servant of Allah." The third time she says, "Don't do this zulm upon me. People will talk. What is a man doing outside my house? Leave." He turns around to the woman and says, "O woman, O servant of Allah, I am a strange man in your land. Will you not give me some comfort? Will you not give me something so that I may repay you later? Will you not let me live here for a few days? I'm to be your guest and I will repay you." The woman turns around and says, "Who are you?" He says, "I'm Muslim bin Aqil." She says, "You are Muslim bin Aqil, are you sure?" She said it truthfully. He said, "Yes." She immediately grabs him and takes him in the house. The old woman had some type of, she had more audacity. Think about it. One old woman, you know, she was a widow. She was born, and her husband, her former, she was a slave originally, the narration says. She had a son called Bilal, who was part of the army of the Kufans, part of Ibn Ziyad, and her husband, who left her, was one of the people that fought in Karbala against Imam Hussain. I can't remember his name, but it's mentioned in the books of Tariq who he was. She takes him inside and look at this woman, one old woman. 18,000 people can't even offer food or water to Imam Hussain al-Aqil. Forget protecting him. They invited him thousands of miles, and when it came to the crunch, not fighting, just to give him shelter. Even give him a horse to get out of Kufa, even help him to escape. You know, the Kufan people said and arranged and attempted to help Muslim bin Aqil to leave Kufa. Then he would say they had some insaniyah, some type of humanity, but they didn't even do that. They just abandoned him. They abandoned him like ants abandon people that run away. You know, ran away. And this old woman that brings, she has an area in the house, which was an area which is kept, a room which is kept for the guest. And she gave him some food, he wouldn't eat. And she left. Her son comes now, Bilal, his name is Bilal. And the son sees the mother going in and out of this room. And he turns to the mother and says, "Why are you going into that room? What is the reason? What is the purpose?" She says, "I can't tell you." He says, again, "Oh mother, why are you going to?" She doesn't tell him. The third, fourth time he convinces the mother. The mother says, "You need to make an oath first with me. Make a custom with me that you will not tell anyone who is in that room." He says, "Fine." He says, "Who is it?" She says, "I have Muslim bin Aqil in my room." One narration, the son becomes angry. He says, "Are you crazy? Do you know the whole government, Ibn Ziyad, is looking for this man who is a fugitive? And do you know what will happen if Ibn Ziyad finds him in our house?" He said, "He'll kill you, he'll kill me." Eventually the mother convinces him not to do that. This guy, Bilal, he used to work under a guy called Muhammad. This Muhammad was one of the head of police of Ibn Ziyad. He goes to Muhammad and he tells him, he doesn't tell Muhammad, he tells Muhammad's son that I have Muslim bin Aqil in my house. Then he goes and tells the father that I know where Muslim bin Aqil is. And the father said, "Where?" They tell him. He then goes to Ibn Ziyad. When he goes to Ibn Ziyad, he tells Ibn Ziyad, "I've located Muslim bin Aqil." He says, "Where?" "In such a house." Ibn Ziyad says, "Take 60, one narration says. The second narration says 70 men in horse, fully armored, and bring him to me. They then march, and remember, Muslim bin Aqil doesn't know what's happening now. He took this house as a refuge. Eventually, Muslim bin Aqil then hears the footsteps of horses and cavalry. Army, the forces have come. He then arises and they attack him. When they attack him, he fights back. And he is so ferocious, alhamdulillah, the narration says, that he's tired, he's wounded, his morale is down. But even in that circumstance, Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu anhu is fighting like a lion, because he comes from the family of lions. He comes from the family. His uncle is Ali radiallahu anhu. And his uncle is Rasulullah. His grandfather is Hazrat Abu Talib radiallahu anhu. His great-grandfather is Hazrat Abdul Muttalib. And he doesn't come from a small, he comes from the best of the Arabs. And he's fighting ferociously to such an extent, he takes all 20 of the men out. They leave the house. One of them come towards him and hit him, and it hits his lip. He cuts his upper lip, he falls back. They come towards to attack him again, and again he fights like a lion. They all run out. All the soldiers run out. So what did they do? They then got fireballs and attacked the house to put it on fire. He goes on top of the roof now, Muslim bin Aqil, and he's fighting still like a lion. Now these people, Muhammad, who is one of the head of the police, he realized there's no way that we can make this man come down. Either we will die and we will have a lot of casualties, and then he will die. They know he will die eventually, but they know that with killing him, he will take 10, 20, 30 people with us. And you will see this tomorrow in the battle of Karbala, how one man like Umar radiallahu anhu, Imam Hussein's nephew, the son of Zainab salam al-Aliyah, one single man took 70 men on. A young man. And you will see the fire of the Ahlul Bayt. You will see the strength of how the Ahlul Bayt fight on the battlefield. You will see that tomorrow. So they realize that they cannot do this. So what did they do? They say, Muhammad says to Muslim bin Aqil, he said, I give you my word, you will be safe. I give you my word, you will be safe. Put down your weapon. Come down. Don't worry. I give you assurance. My name is Muhammad. I'm Fulan Fulan. I can't remember his full name, but his first name was Muhammad bin something. He was one of the guards of Muawiyah, of Ibn Ziyad. Muslim bin Aqil agrees, and he comes down. When he comes down, tears are coming down his eyes. RadiAllahu Anhu. And they put him on a donkey, a mule, and they take him towards Ibn Ziyad now. He's given up, and he's crying. He's crying immensely. One of the guards and soldiers say, why are you crying? Don't you know the thing that you've done? What do you expect? You should expect this. You should expect turmoil. You should expect hardship. You can't expect to have a rebellion and not have hardship. Muslim bin Aqil says, Wallahi, I'm not crying because of that reason. I have no concern for my life. The only reason I'm crying is because I told Imam Hussain to come to Kufa. He said, that's the only reason I'm crying. I'm scared for Hussein. I'm worried for his family. I have no worry for myself. And when he enters into the gate of the governor, he looks and he sees cold water in ice. He turns to the soldiers and says, give me a glass of water, I'm thirsty. And one of the guards says, we swear by Allah, you will not drink anything until the fire of hell. We will not let you drink anything but the fire of hell. Muslim bin Aqil turns around and says, how cruel you are, man. May Allah's curse be upon you. He said, is this the way you treat people? Don't you have manners? Don't you have morals? He mentioned many things. He says, don't you know who we are? Don't you know who my family is? He says, don't you have don't you have an ounce in your heart of fear of Allah? Why was it that these people did not fear Allah? Because they were new Muslims. I said it yesterday, you missed it now. The reason why they never feared Allah was because the dhikr of the Ahlul Bayt was haram for 40, 50 years. Well, not 40 years, I'm exaggerating. Let's go back. For at least 20 years from the time of Imam Hussain, Imam Hassan's shahadat, from even before that, 41 after Hijri, until 59 after Hijri to 6 Hijri, the Ahlul Bayt zikr was haram in the Muslim world. You weren't allowed to praise the Ahlul Bayt. Ali radiallahu anhu was cursed on every member. the fadail of the Ahlul Bayt was closed. No one knew the fadail. So the iman wasn't strong. They never knew. They thought, these are just whoever they were. Eventually what happened, one child then bought a cup of water for Hani with a jug and a napkin. He gives Hani the glass, and every time Hani is drinking, the blood is going into the glass. And it overwhelms the water. 2-3 times Hani tries to drink. So Muslim bin Aqil tries to drink, RadiAllahu Anhu, because of the injury he had, he wasn't able to drink. And then Muslim bin Aqil is still sent, and they bring him into the court of Ibn Ziyad. When he comes to Ibn Ziyad, he doesn't give salam. He doesn't give no salam. And the guard said to him, why don't you give salam to Ibn Ziyad? Why don't you give salam to the governor? He says, how can I give salam to the man who's going to kill me? How can I give salam to the one who's going to kill me? Ibn Ziyad says, by Allah, we will kill you today. You are right, you will be killed. And Muslim bin Aqil says, do whatever you want to, for all of us will die one day. No one will live forever. We will all go to our Lord. We will all go to our Lord. And Ibn Ziyad then begins to abuse him and curse in front of him Sayyidina Ali. Then he cursed Imam Hassan, and then he cursed Imam Hussain and the Ahlul Bayt. And Muslim bin Aqil kept quiet. He didn't respond back to him. This was a great quality of the Ahlul Bayt. It's narrated by Imam in Tariq al-Khulafa that one day, which I just mentioned to you, the reason why the Ahlul Bayt never behaved, if you cursed them, they never cursed you. One day when Marwan was the governor, he went on the minbar in Medina al-Munawwara, and Imam Hassan was in front of him, Imam Hussain was in front of him, RadiAllahu Anhu, and Marwan began to curse Sayyidina Ali. And then he spoke ill of Sayyidina Ali. And then he looked at Imam Hassan, and Imam Hassan kept quiet. Then Marwan, he sneezed. And he sneezed and he cleaned his nose with his right hand. With his right hand. And that's when Imam Hassan said, you disgusting creature of Allah. Don't you know you're not allowed to? You shouldn't clean your hand. You shouldn't clean your nose with your right hand. You should do it with what you clean yourself in. Meaning the hand that you do istinja with. That is the hand that you should do. You are a disgusting person. Get out of here. That is how the Ahlul Bayt behave. They don't behave. If you hit them, they don't hit you. They're people of love and mercy. They don't have this behavior. We're coming towards the end. Muslim bin Aqil looks around and he says to Ibn Ziyad, will you allow me to speak to someone from my clans here, from my tribe here, from Al-Quraysh? He says, go ahead. He sees Umar bin Sa'ad bin Abi Waqas radiyallahu anhu. I'm saying radiyallahu anhu for Sa'ad bin Abi Waqas, not for Umar. Sa'ad bin Abi Waqas is Sahabi Rasul, and he is the cousin of the Prophet's mother, Sayyidat Amina salamun alayha. He was the Prophet's maternal uncle, Sa'ad bin Abi Waqas radiyallahu ta'ala anhu warda. His son was called Umar, and he was a rebellious who drank alcohol and did haram. His own father kicked him out of the house. And when he died in his deathbed, Sa'ad bin Abi Waqas radiyallahu anhu warda, he refused to give any inheritance to Umar. He abandoned him as a son. He was an evil man. And he was the one that led the whole army of 4,000 men against Imam Hussain in Karbala. And he is the cursed individual who was the first person to shoot the arrow on the battle of Karbala. He was the first person to do that. What was his name? Umar, the son of Sa'ad. Muslim bin Aqil looks at him and calls him, and they meet each other. He says, I have 3 wishes, and I want you to fulfill 3 of my wishes, please. He says, what are they? He says, number 1, I owe such a person money. Will you repay the debt on my behalf? Because I don't have money with me, and my family is in Medina and Mecca, and I don't want to go to Allah in this state. So look at that. His qarza he wants to repay. He knows he's gonna die. He knows his life is coming to an end. He's not saying, "Oh, do this for me," or "Help me." You are a close man to the governor. He's saying, "No." He said, "What? Repay my debt." Number 1. He says, number 2. He says, "You know that these people that have no haya." He says, "When I die, bury me. When I die, bury me." Radiallahu anhu. Look at his wishes. No dunya, nothing for dunya. He said, "My 3rd wish and final wish write a letter on my behalf to Imam Hussain and tell Imam Hussain what's happened now. He says, why? He said, because I've already written to Hussain 16 days ago. 16 days ago. I told Imam Hussain he's about to leave Mecca. And I am afraid for him and I'm afraid for his family. I wrote to him and said to him, come to Kufa. Come running to Kufa. And when he reads my letter, he will trust no one apart from me. And he kept quiet. Ibn Ziyad says, come here, what did he ask you? And Umar bin Sa'ad said, he asked me these three things. Ibn Ziyad said, for the first, repaying his debt, you can do whatever you want to. It's between you and him. Regarding writing a letter to Hussain, do whatever you want to, write a letter. If Hussain comes in peace and does what we tell him, we believe him. If Hussain does not accept us, we will chop his head off. This is how, look at his language. In Ibn Ziyad is like he's speaking, you know who you are speaking to, say the Shababi Ahlul Jannah. You're speaking about the masters of Jannah. You are speaking about Hussain who Abu Huraira is cleaning his shoes. Abu Huraira RadiAllahu Anhu is not a small Sahabi. He's a big Sahabi. And he's cleaning the shoes of Imam Hussain and Imam Hassan. These are the people who Umar RadiAllahu Anhu, he's on the mimbar. Abu Bakr is on the mimbar. And Imam Hassan comes to him and says, oh old man, get off the mimbar. That is the mimbar of my grandfather. Who are you to sit on the mimbar of my grandfather? You can't sit on the mimbar of my grandfather. And Abu Bakr that day cried. Abu Bakr cried so much. He says, Wallahi, the child spoke the truth. He went to him, he picked him up, he put him on his lap, and Abu Bakr went one step down. He says, I will never sit on that step again. Because that is where Rasulullah sat on, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then Abu Bakr kissed him. So Ibn Ziyad has no sharam, no haya, no amana, nothing. He has no insaniyat in him. And then he says, however, the third request of burying him, by Allah, we will not let you bury him. He says, we will not let you bury him. We will make an example of him. And Muslim bin Aqil turns around to him and says, do whatever you will, for whatever happens will be the will of Allah. Only the will of Allah will happen. He has no fear for his life. Ibn Ziyad looks at him and says, don't you want to beg for your life? He's mocking him. He says, this is what he said, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. This is the iman of, he says, oh Ibn Ziyad, don't be happy. Ibn Kathir mentions this narration in Al-Bidayah. He says, oh Ibn Ziyad, do not rejoice on the killing of man, for indeed one day you will die. For indeed you will die one day. Ibn Ziyad says, take him. They said, what should we do? They said, take him to the highest part, the highest platform, the highest tower of the palace. They said, when you take him to the top, chop off his head, throw his body down, and then throw his head down. And let it be an example to everyone. And when Muslim bin Aqil is now walking up the stairs, he knows he's going to death. He's walking to death, and what is he saying? Subhanallah walhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, Subhanallah walhamdulillah, Allah. He's just praising Allah, Subhanallah walhamdulillah. He's crying. And the people said, why are you Christians? I'm worried for Hussain. He's worried for Hussain. Not for him, not his own life. He doesn't care because he knows my life. He's good. He's worried that Imam Hussain is coming with his family. And they take him to the top, and the one who hits him, he hits him once, but he doesn't decapitate his head. And when he does this, Muslim bin Aqil looks at him and says, oh enemy of Allah, oh enemy of Allah, isn't it enough what you've done? Why did he say that? Because the person who was killing him was the same person who attacked Muslim bin Aqil in the house, who injured him here when he cut his lip. And I forgot to mention, Muslim bin Aqil that hit him with a sword which cut his shoulder. And Muslim bin Aqil said, isn't that enough blood for you? Blood for blood? What I did to you? And he said no. And Muslim bin Aqil then said what? He remembered Allah. He said he remembered Allah. He says, oh Allah, forgive me for my sins. Oh Allah, treat these enemies of yours the way they treat us, the way they've humiliated us today. And that's when they killed Imam Muslim bin Aqil. He chopped his head off. he threw his honorable body from the top of the tower to the bottom. It fell, it smashed, his head fell, and everyone saw what they did to Muslim bin Aqil. Not a single person from the Kufans came back to say, why did you do this to Muslim bin Aqil? And this is what they did. And then what did Ibn Ziyad then do? He said, call Hani bin Urwa. He says, take him up, chop his head off, and do the same to him. When the guard came down, Ibn Ziyad says to the guard, what was Muslim bin Aqil doing towards the end of his life? When you were going to kill him, he says he was seeking refuge in Allah from us, and he called us the enemies of Allah. And Ibn Ziyad then said, even pride in his death. Even Ibn Ziyad admitted that in that state he is not seeking anything apart from what? He is only seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he was shaheed on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, 60 after Hijri. He radiallahu anhu warda became shaheed, and that's where we end our presentation today. And tomorrow we will quickly go a recap very quickly about Imam Hussain getting to the Karbala, and then we will talk about the battle tomorrow inshallah. وصلى الله تعالى على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.